More than 4 years on from the 2012 Games, the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has ordered an investigation into the spiralling taxpayer bill for converting the Olympic Stadium into West Ham's new home. The club itself, which earns more than £100 million a year from Premiership TV rights alone, has contributed less than 1/20th of the refit costs. It was BBC London that first brought this situation to light, and tonight Mark Jordan has further revelations about what some are now calling a scandalous misuse of public money.
It's the stadium that made London proud in 2012. But West Ham's Karen Brady was no apprentice when she was called into the Olympic Legacy boardroom. She nailed the deal to make it home for the Hammers.
This was not a negotiated contract. This was a surrender.
There are skeletons in the closet of both the Labour and Conservative parties over this matter.
Just painting it claret and blue doesn't stop it from being a white elephant.
In 2015, we exposed the secrecy, the stadium's soaring costs, millions in taxpayer money. But the bill is still rising, and in this show it seems no one gets fired. So I'm back to investigate the soaring price of our Olympic legacy.
Most of the pages look like this.
17 months ago, campaigners asking questions about the West Ham deal showed us this.
It's a sea of black ink.
A secret contract made with taxpayer money.
I think it was just collective embarrassment at the deal that they had done. We fed each other's determination to get some answers.
So since our last investigation, a tribunal finally forced the full release of that West Ham contract. We now have those details and an even bigger taxpayer's bill. The Mayor has ordered an inquiry.
We need to find out how we got to where we have got. Why has the cost gone up by so much?
We too have questions for both West Ham and the London Legacy Development Corporation, but both declined an interview. So first, a question for you. How much do you think it cost to turn this perfect, used once Olympic-grade stadium into a football venue?
$1 million, maybe $1 million.
3-4 million?
20-30 million. £100 million.
Not even close, but fans from rival teams have been carefully tracking the soaring refit bill.
When we started the campaign, it was 170 million. It stayed for a long time at 272 as the alleged final bill, but the final bill turns out to be 321 million.
West Ham paid just 15 million towards that conversion, less than a 20th of the cost. This club earns around 100 million a year just in TV rights. Many critics say West Ham got the deal of the century. Is that how you're feeling?
Well, I think lots of people will be asking reasonable questions about how it's possible for a stadium that now appears to have cost £320 million to transfer has cost a football club around £50 million and an annual rent of far, 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 far less than that.
2 days after the Mayor announced his inquiry, the stadium's London Legacy Development Corporation chairman resigned. It's a long way from when Boris Johnson promised taxpayers a profit as he handed West Ham a 99-year lease at £2.5 million a year rent.
This is something that will now make money, I think, I'm told, in excess of £10 million a year.
But those profits are nowhere to be seen. Boris moved on to become our Brexiteer Foreign Secretary. Leaked documents currently doing the round at City Hall suggest taxpayers will be picking up the bill for years to come.
As far as I can see, there is no end to taxpayers' money being used to prop up this white elephant. They have effectively been given this stadium and the taxpayer is paying for it. The money is mounting up. The losses are going to be met. I wouldn't be surprised if we get rid of £1 billion on that thing.
London.
So what went wrong? Team Coe, Jowl and Livingston ordered an athletics-only stadium. With that being built, Boris Johnson then changed the plan to a multi-use stadium to include football so it could pay its way. You only have to watch a TV renovation show to know that the golden rule to staying on budget is to make a plan, just one plan, and stick to it. But they didn't. So was it a poor original plan or changing midway that cost the taxpayer dear?
politicians making decisions about buildings is an interesting one, shall we say. And, you know, there was a clear vision for what the stadium was going to be, and that one changed. And like all those things, once you start messing around with stuff, you may well have been better off to knock it down and start again. And that's a big, bold decision to make, but sometimes take the pain up front, knock it down, start again, say you got it wrong, and move on. It's when we try and justify it, and justify it, and justify it, and the costs go up and up and up.
In Singapore, they did it oh so differently. Designed from day one for seats to reconfigure in less than 2 days. London Stadium admits such high tech is now logistically impossible. Our refit, more costly and basic.
Your builder will say, thank you very much, and that'll now cost you double the cost of the whole project.
For sports promoter and former chairman of Leyton Orient, the die was cast.
This was a white flag that went up from the LLDC under the instructions of Boris Johnson. Get this off my plate. I don't want this to be my white elephant. I've inherited a problem, which is true.
So Boris got his multi-purpose stadium. Taxpayers, not West Ham, pay each year to manually install these scaffold-like seats over the running track. Then the contractor went bust. This year's took 10 days working round the clock.
Boris thought, this stadium's going to make a profit. And now we find that the retractable seats that were supposed to cost £300,000 to move are now going to cost 7 or 8 million a year to move.
At the London Assembly, any regrets from those with that public chequebook?
Surely you would look back on that and think we could have done that differently.
Look, if we'd known the seating issue was going to happen, we'd have announced a bigger figure. But I can sort of apologise if you like, but you know, I don't think it's our fault directly, but it's an unfortunate consequence of what's happened.
Nor is anyone apologising that it's the public getting the bill for added security after football clashes like this. It's making it harder to find a brand willing to part with millions for their name on the stadium. Desperately needed revenue.
The fact that the stadium operators pay for security, they pay for the police, they pay for the ground upkeep, they pay for the nets they're used in the goal. I think what Boris saw was a light at the end of the tunnel. And unfortunately for him, that light has turned out to be a train coming towards him.
Back at the London Assembly, someone's in for a grilling.
Karen, you don't have to pay anything for policing.
I pay £2.5 million a year, which covers all those costs.
Right.
We got a glimpse of Karen Brady defending her all-inclusive West Ham deal.
We can afford to pay £20.5 million in a transfer fee and all but £80 million in a wage bill. I think police officers come a bit cheaper than that.
No, I've already covered it in the £2.5 million that I pay. That
Yes,
it covers the cost of policing, security, maintenance, electricity, utilities, and so on.
I think there's a moral obligation.
I know you've asked me 3 times.
I suspect most Londoners will probably feel the same way about it.
But it is what it is.
Dr. Gillian Evans has tracked London's Olympic legacy and how West Ham landed the stadium.
All the balls were in their court, and so then they could dictate the terms of the deal, because the alternative, after all of that drama and all of that saga, would have been to have a white elephant, and that was unthinkable.
The LLDC claim London delivered the most successful legacy programme in Olympic history. The stadium is alive and helping regenerate the whole area. Come summer, World Athletics and concerts take over. They remain confident the stadium will one day pay its way. But so far, it's taken over £300 million of public money.
It's signed. We have to live with it. No one is going to put their hands up in politics and say, it's my fault.